understand that I know of, that I have been present to 3 events in North Carolina. The first one was Christmas Boxers in 2012. Has everybody seen the Christmas Boxers?
No.
I'm not wearing them now.
Oh, he was wearing them Friday night. Were you not there Friday night?
I got briefs on.
So we had Christmas Boxers.
No, I don't.
And Richard and Hugo and I hosted Christmas Boxers, and we encouraged everyone to wear Christmas Boxers, because it's fun, right? So Wassa shows up with this hula hoop, with like a shower curtain of Christmas Boxers. And he's walking around downtown where we live in these Christmas Boxers. And he's also got, by the way, because it's his underwear, it had a fly. And also because he was being safe, he had rubber protection. It was a rubber glove. He was very thorough. So in our little town, there is Richard's Coffee Shop and Military Museum. At Richard's Coffee Shop and Military Museum, every Saturday morning, veterans get together and they socialize and they have coffee and they sing patriotic songs and they play music and it's a grand old time. So you've got, I don't know, 50, 100 veterans sitting inside the museum.
Like World War II veterans.
Yeah. These guys are a long time, and this guy walks in with this mysterious big, I don't know, case. What's under there? Nobody knows. How fast do you think you see dozens of veterans go? And Wassa goes right back out the door. So that was the first time we met Wassa. The third time we attended an event with Wassa was right here. You're all here, so you know about it. There was one other time. This event was not very well attended, but the people who were there had fun. It was, what was it, Sarah, like 2013? Around there. So Wassa had to come to town for work. And he said, well, since I'm in that part of the country, let's have a little event while we're out there. So Wassa planned this event. And there's a place, actually it's not even 2 hours from here where we are now. It's called Bar S. It's a cattle ranch. Bar S Cattle Ranch is about 300 acres. There are trails and there's a pool and there are hills because, wait, it's not a cattle ranch anymore. Now it's a naturalist park. Does anybody know what a naturalist park is?
I know, what is it?
Are there any little ones here? So Wassa booked this event at a nudist colony. And there were, maybe 12 people showed up. But people came because letterboxers are crazy. and I know, I'm going to see who admits it. I know there's some people in this room right now.
You should have saw the event stand.
Raise your hand if you
Where we hidden in plain sight stand.
I want you to raise your hand if you were at Wassa's event where the theme was big things and small things. Okay, I see 2 people admitting it, and I see at least 5 people in this room who were there. So anyway, if you have not met Wassa, if you do not know Wassa, it's a little taste of Wassa, and you'll get to get a bigger taste right about now. So thank you for being here today. We appreciate you. We hope you have fun. And here's Wassa.
Okay, you guys want to move up front? Good morning, everyone.
I forgot to tell you there is an event stamp at the end.
There is an event stamp, that's right. Carved by that gentleman that just walked in late. And he just carved it a couple days ago, and it's gorgeous, so don't forget the event stamp at the end. Now, usually I run the thing myself, but the way it's set up here, I have to have my lovely daughter, Argon Boxer, wait. Yeah. So, usually we have like a clicker or something, but this time I got one of Ryan's little whistles, right? So, you can get these on Atlas Quest in the marketplace. So every time I want the slide to move, Katie, just, listen for the whistle. Ryan? I want a refund. Do we have any other noisemakers that we might be able to use? Oh, Katie. Katie's got something. Okay. Okay, so Katie, when you hear this sound, that's when you're going to move the slide down. Careful, only do it when you hear it coming from me. If you hear it coming from Silver Eagle, do not move the slide. We'd be through this presentation in 2 minutes flat.
Got it.
So, okay. Well, good morning and welcome to Live and Breathe 25! How much more time do I have?
You're done.
You got 49 minutes.
Ooh, we have some serious filler to go here. Is everybody having a fabulous weekend? So I'm thrilled to be here in North Carolina because, let's face it, North Carolina is a place of deep history. It's a place of rich culture, and it's a place with sophisticated people. Yeah, there's sophistication going on. Okay. I screwed up my slides. My name is Wasamatayu, and that's not really true. That's just my pretend name. But that's what most of you know me as, Wasamatayu. And that's kind of a weird concept, because if you go to any other organized event in America, and you start off your speech by saying, "Hi, I'm Wasamatayu," they're going to think you're at like a psychology convention or something like that. But us letterboxers, well, we're a breed apart. And as my wife says, we really should. Yeah, okay. I told her I'd text her. Breed apart joke bomb. Okay. That one's fine. Okay. Well, how did we get here? And I know it's the shuttles, right? That's how we got here. Which are fantastic. But no, what I mean is, how did we get to this hobby / pastime / compulsion? How did it start? How did we arrive at this stealthy, secretive, artistic endeavor? What are the origins of our shared obsession? Who really is responsible for making us who we are today? And can we send them a bill? These questions have caused a deep burning inside me. It was that or the pulled pork. And I decided to do a little research into these questions. And so, without further ado, unless again it's the pulled pork, I'd like to present to you Wasamatayu's Boxer's Brief History of Letterboxing. Now, conventional wisdom tells us, and since this is pretty much like a convention, that's a pretty good place to start, that letterboxing first appeared in 1854 in Dartmoor, England. I got some news for you. It started a long time before that. Letterboxing is far, far older hobby than that, and I can prove it. For instance, the ancient Egyptians practiced a rather rudimentary form of letterboxing, wherein they would hide stamps in sealed containers. Now, zoom in here on the sarcophagus of the famous Tutankhamun, you can see vaguely some hints of early letterboxing technology. For those in the back, this is a lock and lock flaps. Now, the Egyptians had not at that time actually invented carving materials, so those came along much later in 1512 by Leonardo da Vinci Code. This, by the way, is why he wrote everything he did backwards. It makes sense, right? We've all done that, right? Yeah. Now, typically, the rubber stamps the Egyptians used, well, they didn't really have rubber. So they, instead of hiding rubber stamps, hid pharaohs. So now the proof, now I have absolute proof for this. The proof for the Egyptian predilection for letterboxing can be found in their choice of hiding spots. This is the Egyptian desert. Now, we, as seasoned letterboxers, now see if you can find the suspicious pile of rocks. Absolute proof, right? Now, further evidence of the ancient letterboxes was uncovered in 1936 when an American letterboxer with the trail name of Indiana successfully followed a particularly difficult set of lightning bug clues. Now, as we zoom in, you can once again see evidence that this was, in fact, a letterbox. Look closely here. Oh, I think we're going to have to zoom in a little bit more. This was a letterbox. Now, for those in the back that says this is not a geocache. Now, one thing to note, of course, is that even back then, they had slack boxers. And in fact, they had a much more effective way of dealing with stolen stamps. Okay, over the next few thousand years, letterboxing spread in pockets. Though, actually, when letterboxing spread in pockets, it's called a cootie. But I digress. Not much was written or remains of those early years, and letterboxing remained well under the radar until the year 1854. Year. 1854, the year Charles Dickens started writing Hard Times. The year the first telegraph opened in Australia between Melbourne and Williamstown. And the year the first U.S. Naval Academy class graduated in Annapolis, Maryland. 1854, which saw the births of Thomas Watson, George Eastman, and Engelbert Humperdinck. No, the composer, not the pop star. It also saw the passing of George Ohm, Uncle Sam Wilson, and King Kamehameha III of Hawaii. I know. In that year, 1854, a guide in Dartmoor, England, by the name of James Parrott, realized that unless something drastic was done soon, 1854 would go down as one of the most boring years in history. Now, to bravely circumvent this dire circumstance and this international catastrophe, he cleverly placed a jar in a bog, thus single-handedly elevating the otherwise doomed year to world-changing status. Now, how did he do this? A jar in a bog. This simple yet brilliant concept bears delving into, partly because it's so important to the foundations of what we do today, but mostly still because I have at least 30 minutes to fill. James Parrott was a tour guide in Dartmoor in the county of Devon in England. This is Dartmoor. Now, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, but think about it. He was a tour guide. I mean, really, what's he going to guide? And on your left, we have some heather and bog. On your right, more heather and bog. I mean, it's really not much of a job. But the intrepid Mr. Parrott undoubtedly had a bit of time making ends meet, so he came up with an ingenious plan. He picked a spot in the middle of nowhere called Cranmere Pool. It had a nice little story associated with it, so people had heard of it, but it was not really much to look at. There's no actual pool at Cranmere Pool, any more than there are crans or mirrors. And here's the genius. He put a jar there. Now, a jar in a bog. The theory was that people would leave their cards in the jar to prove they'd been there. And further visitors could see who else had made the arduous 8-mile trek. Now, it soon followed that people would leave self-addressed postcards. Or they would leave letters in the jar. And so the next visitor would collect them, mail them back to the original planters, and thus the origination of the term letterboxing. There we go. Isn't it nice to know that the worldwide phenomenon we all hold so dear, the adventurous hobby that has brought us so many creative and fascinating people together here this weekend, had its root in a marketing scam. I personally find that really comforting. Over the next 169 years, letterboxing grew on the moors of England. Wrong moor. But it still remained a secretive hobby, confined mostly to Dartmoor. Until April of 1998, when Smithsonian Magazine published an article entitled, "They Live and Breathe Letterboxing." This one article was ultimately the catalyst for the founding of American letterboxing. I'm privileged to actually have won an actual copy of this magazine at the original first Live and Breathe. This was actually presented to me by Mr. So it's really one of my most prized possessions. And, well, you know, I want to share it with you guys. Because, I mean, it's probably worth thousands of dollars. I could auction it off. I want to share it with you. So.
101.
We don't. You know, when you're dealing with something like this, you got to be really careful. I can do this.
It doesn't fit, it must have quit.
You got to be careful with these old magazines because they're really. No, that's okay. We got it. We're all right. Hold on. We got this. Now, I'd like to read a few. Katie, this is why you're here. I got this. I'd like to read to you from the magazine a little bit. This is a great article.
Just so you know, those gloves come in multiple
Can we
sizes.
bring up the lights? It's kind of.
They only come in one size.
Katie, can I have a light, please? I need some more light. All right. I made a flashlight. Oh, this will work. Anyhow, so from the Live and Breathe article, if I can read it. Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe we'll go on to another part of the magazine here. Oh no, it's all broken now. Okay. I don't remember this part. Oh, I'm sharing a room with Amanda. I must grab her copy. It's Ryan's. No, that's enough of that. We'll get back to the magazine later, but anyhow. That was the fascinating part of this whole All right. Come on. credits for this. Thus began the seeds of North American letterboxing. Okay, so I have to tread a little bit lightly going forward here because there's a lot of the people here. There we go. A lot of the people here who were actually here during this part of it, though people like Silver Eagle might have been here for the 1936 or even for the Jaboom. So across the United States, several people saw the Smithsonian article, undoubtedly in the psychiatry office, and they got very excited. This is probably due to an imbalance of medications, but so be it. They each separately decided to try to encourage the foundation and growth of letterboxing in North America. To this end, many people in America individually contacted the Dartmoor letterboxers mentioned in the magazine. So we talked to them. These people, including the Dartmoor letterboxers, Ray Acode, Adrian Williams, Graham Howard, and the man who almost single-handedly saved the hobby in England, Godfrey Swinscout, sometimes affectionately referred to as God. Give him a big hand. So we contacted them. They, in turn, passed the North American names around to the other North Americans, thus getting the North Americans in touch with each other across the country. Now, how they passed them on, according to rumor, was they put all the names in a hat, shuffled around, and set it on fire. So that's pretty much how North American letterboxing got started. The early pioneers called themselves LB&A, Letterboxing North America, and that's how they first got in contact with each other. So who were these folks? Now, I personally didn't find out about letterboxing until around 2004 when my wife, in a move she deeply regrets to this very day, sent me an article from Family Fun magazine. I don't have a lot of first-hand knowledge about the very earliest LB&A days, but from everything I've read, many of the early enthusiasts, I can speak, I swear. Many of the early enthusiasts considered some of the true founders of North American letterboxing to be Eric and Susan Davis, along with Daniel Servatius. And very sadly, many of these old original letterboxers have passed away and are no longer with us. And I can only hope that they would have been pleased with where their original vision and leadership has led us. Now, there was another pioneer that came along around the same time. Someone who had been an avid rubber stamp carver already for many years. Rubber stamps, most of the time carved on erasers. Rubber stamp carving is a very niche hobby, and I think the fact that this particular person who latched on to this concept from the magazine played a key part in the way we box in North America as opposed to Dartmoor. In Dartmoor, nearly all the rubber stamps are bespoke. No, not like that. Bespoke means professionally created to your specifications, and they paid to have them made. Now, because this pioneer came into the sport with a love of carving already, he was a major influence in the fact that in North America letterboxing, for our predilection, we like hand-carved rubber stamps. So that's one of the big things that sets apart from the Dartmoor letterboxers. Now, this icon, or iconoclast really, was Mitch Klink. Also known as your Mad Stamper. Mitch's signature stamp was based on magazine's Alfred E. Newman, and those of us fortunate to have known him knew what me worry was perfectly personified, the wit, humor, and incredible creativity he had. Mitch had a hat. Those of you who've seen it, this is the best part. Mitch had a hat, this carving hat, he'd wear while he was carving stamps. And if you take a look, I mean, it looks, like sort of steampunk, but these are all carving materials and carving tools and things like that. While he was carving, he would just sort of reach up and, carve and put the tools back and pull things out in compartments and everything. It was absolutely amazing. It was so much fun to watch him carving and he really pushed the hobby forward. And sadly, Mitch passed away a few years ago, but he was a good friend and one of the true founding fathers of letterboxing in North America, and is perhaps the most famous live and breathe boxer. Yeah. Anyway, Mitch got in touch with Daniel, who at that time had made a very rudimentary website devoted to this new passion. Rather than get into a lot of details as to who contacted who did what, and which people planted what where, suffice it to say, a lot of magic happened in those early days. A mailing list was formed, which eventually became the LBNA Big List. And DMS, in what was undoubtedly a pharmaceutically enhanced state, designed the original LBNA website that we all know and love. Major players came pouring into the new hobby. Tom Cooch, Drew Clan, the ineffable map server, don't F with him. Ray Record, I hate to say it, Silver Eagle and Baby Bear. Really too many to name them all, and I probably named a few too many. They all put their mark, and if you will, pardon the inevitable pun, put their stamp on the sport. Letterboxing grew state by state, box by box. As with any group of creative characters, and yes, letterboxers are characters, arguments ensued, disagreements unfolded, and differing opinions on what was right or wrong sprang up. This was natural as the sport grew and evolved, and an offshoot of the big list, called the New Boxers List, was started by a guy with the unlikely name of Mark Peepee. Is he here? Yeah, I can see why After that, some other letterboxing websites were formed, some which really sadly vanished over time, such as Silent Doug's Letterboxing Info, the World of Letterboxing, or Letterboxing Underground. And some websites stuck like a wad of gluey gum to the bottom of a sleazy diner table. Now, speaking of sleazy, one day a young unemployed programmer decided there was a better way to search for letterboxes than the stated counting listings on LBNA. Now, being completely unemployed, totally without employment, and not having an active vocation to fall back on, he decided to make his own search engine, one that would allow us to focus more exactly on that which we were seeking. He spent a few months designing, testing, refining, and eventually he hit upon an extremely clever and useful searching mechanism, an incredible algorithm that was a downright paradigm shifter. This young man was, of course, Sergey Brin, the founder of Google. And in the meantime, some other crackpot by the name of Verdant Testudinal, Green Tortuga, developed something called Atlas Quest. Funny, really, how both Google and AQ are very similar, except Sergey is a multi-billionaire who founded one of the highest capitalized companies in the world, and Brian sells whistles that don't work. Enough of that. Oregon, 2008. Their mad scamper, along with an intrepid bunch of Pacific Northwest lunatics, decided to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the original Smithsonian magazine. Now, letterboxing events had been going on since practically the beginning, and some had even gotten to be huge, well-attended, wonderful events. For example, the Texas Annual Letterboxing event. No, wait, it's not yet. Oh, yeah. By the way, if you haven't already, I highly recommend you read Silver Eagle's Adventures in Letterboxing book. It really goes, I hate to give him a plug, but it's actually a really, really good book. It goes into great and entertaining details in many of the early aspects of U.S. and particularly Texas letterboxing history and is undoubtedly much more accurate than mine. Anyway, the Pacific Northwest Boxers hosted not just an event, but an entire long weekend of letterboxing hijinks, and they called it Live and Breathe 10. I just love doing this. There we go. Now, it was the first, but not the last of the Live and Breathes, as you probably have figured out. Groton, Massachusetts was the next one for LMB 15, then McKinney Ruff's Nature Park in Texas for LMB 20. And here we are 20 years later, after letterboxing was unleashed upon an unsuspecting American public. We are here at Live and Breathe 25 in the lovely state of North Carolina. So that brings us to today. Now, I know you're all itching to get out on the trails, because that's what we do. But before I release you from your self-imposed incarceration here, after all, Dartmoor was home to a famous prison. There we go. Yeah, I'm afraid if I don't let you go soon, this is what's going to happen to me. I'd like to present you with a little song I wrote specifically for this. So I'm not sure how good the sound is going to be. Let's give it a try. So I based this song on Gilbert and Sullivan. So my deepest apologies. Hopefully they won't come back from the grave and haunt me. But here we have the major letterboxing song.
You ready?
I am the very model of a modern stealthy letterboxer, always sneaking, always hiding from a muggle or a noxer. I take great pride in clever hides and clues that promise to deceive. I'll double up my PFX count while I'm here at Live and Breathe. I am the very model of a finder of hard letterboxes, always searching, always looking out for spores and under rocks, and seeking high and low in logs and trees and bushes on the ground. And always, 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 always rehide better than I found. And always, 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 always rehide better than I found. And always, 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 always rehide better than I found. And always, 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 always rehide better than I found. We're always looking, always searching for a place that's quite discreet. In using stealth, we plant a box that's off the path that's often beat. We strive for stealth and secrecy, while through the woods we try to slink, though often you can spot us, cause our fingers will be full of ink. We strive for stealth and secrecy, while through the woods we try to slink, though often you can spot us, cause our fingers will be full of ink. I am a letterboxer thumb. Some people think I am insane because my best friends really only know me by my trail name, like Green Tortuga, Monkey, BRDHG, and Mew and Mitch, and hope like hell that science never finds a cure for my addiction. We're letterboxers one and all, and though our spouses may think bad about our focus on card rubber, locks and newing pads, we really love the feeling that we get when we can sally forth. And through the woods our cry will echo, do you know which way is north? And through the woods our cry will echo, do you know which way is north? And through the woods our cry will echo, do you know which way is north? And through the woods our cry will echo, do you know which way is north? And now we're here at Live and Breathe, the boxing anniversary. Despite the hardships, cost and time, and other such adversities, we're here with friends and other folks with whom we have a common bond. You could have been out boxing while the song has gone on far too long. We're here with friends and other folks with whom we have a common bond. We could have been out boxing while the song has gone on far too long.
Yeah, you wonder why I don't try to do that live. That took a few takes. So there you have it. Letterboxing continues to evolve, to grow, to expand, because we... Oh. There we go. It moves forward because we are here to move it forward. And it's often said it's an obsession, and a compulsion, and an addiction. But as Uncle Don liked to say also, letterboxing is about the people. That rings true for me because I'm grateful for the hobby, for the many wonderful friendships I've made, the fantastic adventures, and the places I would never have known existed. So once again, I want to thank you all and say to my imaginary friends, welcome to Live and Breathe 25.